In this video, you're going to learn how to solve two-step inequalities with one variable. Let's go ahead and get started. Our first problem here, we have 3x minus 2 is less than 4. Now, the main difference between solving for an equation and solving for an inequality is that at the end, when you solve for an inequality, you're usually going to have a set of numbers that make the inequality true. The same thing happens when you have to solve for an inequality than a variable. You have to decide which side you're going to put your variables and which side you're going to keep your numbers. In this case, I choose my left-hand side for my variables. I'm going to choose my right-hand side for my numbers. The reason I do that is because I already have a number here, and so it makes no sense to move it to the other side. It's just a lot easier if I just move this negative 2 to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that by adding 2 to each side. Then I'm left with 3x is less than 6. Now I want to go ahead and detach this 3 coefficient from the x, and the way to do that is by division because they're being multiplied. So I'm going to divide each side by 3. That gives me a 1x here. And my answer is x is less than 2. Now, remember when I said the difference between an equality and an equation is that in an equation you have x equals one number and one number only. However, in an inequality you can have a whole range of numbers that make this inequality true. So in here we're saying that x is less than 2, and any number that is less than 2 is going to make this inequality true. Let's go ahead and plug this in. I'm looking for numbers that are less than 2. So I'm going to start with my original equation. 3x minus 2 is less than 4. One of the numbers that I know that is less than 2 is a 0. So if I plug the 0 in for x, then it should work. So instead of 3 being multiplied by x, 3 is now multiplied by 0. And when I simplify that, 3 times 0 is 0 minus 2. So now what we have is 0 minus 2 is less than 4, which is actually just negative 2 is less than 4. And that is true because negative 2 is indeed less than 4. Go ahead and try the second inequality on your own. 3x minus 4 less than negative 19. Pause the video and we'll see you in a bit. Now the only thing you have to be careful when you are solving for inequalities is for the one rule when we're dividing by negatives. And so if I have a problem like this, negative 12x is less than or equal to 4, then what I have here is I have to get rid of this negative 12x. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and divide by negative 12. And this is a very important rule. Whenever you are dividing by a negative number, you have to go ahead and switch the inequality symbol. So this is now x. My sign is no longer less than or equal. My sign is greater than or equal. So you have to, when you're dividing by a negative number, you have to change the direction of your inequality.